Hi guys, what you can see right now on the screen is my e-commerce platform, and today I'll be trying to recreate this modal mechanics. So focus on it, see what happens when I click this edit button. This model pops from that location. It doesn't just go from the center once again and once more. And as you can see, I can hide it by clicking literally anywhere else on the screen and not just in the body of it. Or I can click the hide button, which is kind of obvious. And what is so special about this mechanics that it goes from this location is that it gives you a better feeling of what is going on in the application. And I decided to use this approach like over a year ago. And yeah, so when I click edit once again, we can tell that this model pops from this location and it's probably associated to it. If it was from the center or anywhere else, from top, for example, it could feel like it's not related, but it clearly is. It's the action we performed right now. I gotta admit, it's my first time I'm trying to code from scratch. So yeah, I have no idea how long it's gonna take, but yeah, I hope it will be interesting for you. So let's keep watching. Just one more thing before we get started. I will try to create just a model itself without its contents. There's clearly too much work for today, as you can see right there. Yeah, this kind of components, animated and random stuff. Maybe in the future, but for now, I don't want you to be disappointed if you do not actually see it. It's totally up to you what you put in the inside of the model, as long as you have proper mechanics. The first thing I have created is some blank view. It's completely irrelevant how it works right there, but what I do have is a JavaScript file, a CSS, which I highly recommend using. And here is PHP, where I'll have my hello world. If I save it, what you can see right there, under this route, which is defined right there. I mean, once again, it's irrelevant. You can have a pure HTML file and yeah, such templates that will work perfectly fine if you just include JavaScript and CSS. So I'm gonna stick to it. And yeah, we have a hello world, so let's keep going. Let's create a model container. So I'll do it like this. Div model underscore container and enter. And I did an underscore instead of a hyphen, and that's because if I double click, well, it's selected. So yeah, you can use it if you want. Let's give it some styles. So double click. Okay, it works. It wouldn't if I had just a hyphen once again. And I go to my SCSS file and let's do, for example, a border of 2 pixels, solid red. Oh, and once again, I forgot about it. I have to zoom in the code, or maybe even more. Like, yeah, now clearly you will see everything. So we have some border. Let's give it some padding, 400 pixels. And if we visit the page, okay, we can already see something in here. And yeah, let's keep going. So what we actually want to do, we want to position it fixed, obviously fixed. What else do we want to do? We want to do, and here it gets tricky because we want to center a div. Like, yeah, it kind of makes sense to center a model. Yeah, there might be some scenarios where you wouldn't want this, but we should use a flexbox in here. And I'm going to show you why in a second. Display flex, justify content center, and align item center. So that will center whatever. And at this point, I'm not sure if I want it to be a container or a wrapper. So yeah, clearly naming is important. But once again, it's up to you how you do this. So I will have a wrapper, which will be the absolutely positioned element that will be take whole screen, and model container will be inside of it. But yeah, I'll just switch back to this and leave it like this. So yeah, it's fixed, but let's make it full screen. So left 0, right, 0. I know I could do inset of 0, but because it's not well supported, I'm not gonna use it and not gonna pretend that it works. And some YouTubers out there would use it anyway. I'm not like that. So bottom 0 and top 0. And yeah, so let's see the result. I really don't know what the outcome will be, but okay, it's just fine, okay. So it's fixed. I had to rename the class to my model container because there were some conflicts with my project, but we were back to the code. So now let's add my model. So div my model. Okay, we have it right there. And now let's add some styles so we can see it on the screen. And it will have width 100%, height 100%, max width of 600 pixels, and max height of 400 pixels. And now, yeah, let's give it some border, just like this, but let's make it blue this time. And I'm gonna put that h1 inside of it. So let's see the result. Refresh the page. And yeah, that seems to be working just fine. It's fixed. We cannot see it because there is nothing to scroll on the page, but it looks right already. I think we should do some JavaScript now, so the model hides and shows. So, but first I think we should add a button. And I do have some pre-made classes that I'm gonna use. Well, it could be Bootstrap in your case or whatever, but I'm gonna do a button of primary. And yeah, click me, something like that. So let's see, do we have that button on the screen? Yes, we do, but it's already covered by the model itself, which is a bad thing, obviously. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hide it. But yeah, how am I gonna do this? Probably that way. So I will wrap it. Yeah, once again, it's SCSS, so I can do it that way. And I will say if it's not active or visible, so it's totally fine to do it like this. I will have display of none. And now if I refresh the page, we'll see nothing but the button. Yeah, it would be nice to give it some padding, but still, you can see it right there. I will zoom in, click me, and yeah, okay, there's the chat that we probably wouldn't want to have, but don't worry about it. So yeah, now let's make it appear as we click on it. Okay, so what we have to do now is we probably should assign some class to that button. So we can find it in JavaScript, and that class will be open model button, just like that. We go to the script, and now what should we do? Okay, document, add event listener, DOM content, load it, and now, yeah, so I could do a click listener already, but yeah, it's a cleaner approach to do it that way, because would there be a chance you would click before something is ready? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Add event listener, click. It passes some events. So let's console log that event. And yeah, paste that class in here. Let's see what's right there. Console, zoom in so we can see. I'm gonna click it, and yes, okay, we can already see that there is such event happening. So we should toggle that class when that happens. And yeah, I assigned it to the document. I could do it differently, obviously. Document query selector. And yeah, I think that will be better for that tutorial. So we don't really need that event, but instead what we'll do is we'll toggle a class of my model container. And give it the class of visible. So document, query selector, my model container. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna bring it to the top because we might use it more times. I'll do a const of my model container equals to that thing. And now I'm gonna reference that object element and class list toggle, and it's visible. And yeah, there is an optional parameter which tells you what the state should be, and it's equivalent to add class list add if it was truthy, if it was actually true. Yeah, you should pass in booleans. I'm not gonna talk about this right now, but yeah, you can see we can toggle a class. So let's see what happens if I click right there. Okay, it shows, but I cannot click it, and the reason for that is very simple. The model itself is blocking the view, as it should be. So the close button should actually be in the model itself, and I'll do it right now. Okay, so let's add this button, but first let's make this show me. And inside of it we'll have hide me. And yeah, let's make it hide model button. It could be close, obviously, but I cannot use that class in this project. It's used already. And yeah, so here we add it like this. It will do the exact same thing, so I could make it add and remove. Yeah, I think that will be fine. So let's see what we get. Show me, hide me. Okay, it works just fine, but it's still pretty basic. I think it's time we could do some styling to make it look at least a little bit better. Okay, so let's go to the styles. It will be a little bit smaller because it's zoomed in already. And what I actually want to do, I want to remove that border and remove it from here. My model will have a background of FFF pretty much. And for the model container, I will have opaque, transparent, I wanted to say, background. It will be black, 0, 0, 0, but I will give it some opacity. And to do this, we just simply add another digit. It could be done that way as well, but it's just a shorthand, which I often use because, well, I'm lazy, okay? And let's see how it looks like. Now, show me. And yeah, there's some layering issues that if we hover over this, it has a z index of 1. So yeah, it goes under. I just realized that I'm blocking DevTools. I hope it's not a big deal because you can already see the code in here, the properties I've been talking about. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a little bit more shadow. So yeah, let's see my model, and I'm gonna do it in DevTools so I can see the preview. Box shadow, and I will have 0, 3 pixels, 2 pixels, and now 10 pixels, 0, and I will have 0, 0, 0, 2, or yeah, even something more visible, just like this. It looks fine, and I'm gonna give it some border radius of 5 pixels. Yeah, so it's just a tiny bit rounded, and yeah, I'm gonna copy it and paste right there. If I were to refresh it, it will look just like this. Okay, so maybe the next thing we're gonna do is we would want it to be dismissible just by clicking anywhere outside of it, because it can be annoying. Some people might not want to click hide button. So how are we gonna do this? Yeah, clearly we need a click event listener. It could even be mouse down, so it runs a tiny bit quicker before we even release the left mouse button. That's not that important, but still, And what are we gonna do? My model container. So yeah, I think that's the right thing to detect these clicks on. So we go in here, back to the code. We add event listener of click. Yeah, sure, click. Sorry. Now the event will be important. So let's do a console log of 1, 2, 3, and let's see when it shows in the console. So here I'll open console. Okay, refresh the page, show me, and yeah, we can see it right there. So you might think it works just fine, but it also shows when we click inside of the model, and that's something we have to detect. And to do that, it will be useful to print the target. Well, let's just see what it is. I refresh the page, and now I click right there and here. And as you can see, the target is the actual target. So if we just check if the target is equal to the model container, we can easily tell when it should hide. It should hide right now, so it's a true, and now it shouldn't, false. So yeah, it's really that simple. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this, do an if, or I could even invert this. Yeah, I'll do it straight away. I'll do a return. But below that line of code, we can already tell that, yeah, what we have clicked is the model container and not anything inside of it. So what we would want to do, we would want to hide it. And some of you might think that I'll just copy it and paste right there, but I'm not gonna do this. Instead, I will make it a callback. And for example, I can do it like this. I can have a const of height model. It will be a function. Okay, I did it wrong. Like this. I put it inside of here. And now I can put it in both places. So yeah, it's right there. Okay, I missed it. It's right there and right there. So it will hide when we click the actual hide model button, or when we click on the model container, but not on the model content itself. So let's see if it works. Refresh the page. I click no errors whatsoever. Show me. I click right there. Okay, it did hide. It did. If I click hide me, it hides as well. But if I click anywhere else, it stays on the screen. So seems to be working. So let's do just one more thing, the one I've been talking about in the beginning of the video. So I would want this model, oh, it's too big right there, to appear, pop from the location we clicked, or from the element we clicked on. So it's still something we're missing, and it would be nice to add it. So if you were to guess how are we going to approach this? So really what we have to do is we have to change the way we animate this model to go not from just the opacity that we go for, like literally that container, okay, for that container, but also my model that you can see right there. Well, it should move around, right, from that spot, and yeah, that's something we could start from. But just one important thing, we are not going to animate this element, because what would happen? Well, just take a look. If we were to translate it, if we were to translate it, okay, what's going to happen is, well, we're not going to see that background blur, and yeah, that's clearly not something we would want to do. So instead, I will copy this and do it on my model. And yeah, that makes more sense to move this element around. We'll also have to do some scaling, but first, let's just move it around from this location to the center. Okay, so first we need a reference to my model. I'm gonna do it right there. I simply copy the code, and now under that variable, I have that element, and we have to animate it when we open the model. So animate, but I'm just gonna copy this code. And what I'm gonna do, instead of opacity, I'll do a transform. And it will be translate negative 100 pixels and 100 pixels. And for 100% the finish keyframe, it will be pretty much 0. There is no movement needed. Okay, and let's see the results. So it does animate. It's kind of weird, and what we clearly have to define is the location of that element, because right now we are just guessing, okay, what the position might be. Okay, so what we have to do is we need a reference to open model button first, and I could do EV targets, but I don't want this to be tricky anymore, so instead I will have a simple reference in a variable. And now I can do something like this: const rect equals get bounding line rect. And now we can console log. What will we console log? First, let's have x coordinates, which will be rect left, but I'm gonna add rect times width times 0.5, so we get the center. And now it will be the height and top for y coordinates. And if you see the results, we click right there. So these numbers are actually the coordinates of the center of that button. And yeah, it makes sense. It's on the upper left corner. So these numbers are small. Now it would be nice to know where's the center of the screen, because we cannot simply apply that translation yet. So what are we gonna do is we'll have another variable, const screen x, screen center x. So let's do it like this, and it will be window inner width times 0.5, pretty much like this, and inner height. And there are probably many different ways to tell what the width and height is, but yeah, let's display both of these. And now, okay, first let's see what the result is. We can see 300 for width, which will be right there, and 234. So yeah, it's exactly that point on the screen. And now what we have, if we subtract one vector from another, and what I mean by that is x minus screen center y, and subtract this from this, we'll have initial position that we have to move from. So yeah, there is a need for good naming. I'll make it from x. So it will be a position where the animation starts. And now let's apply it right there. Copy, not delete, from x, from y. Oh, and I'm gonna do just one more thing to fix, so there's no rounding issues. We don't really need 10 decimal places. 2 will be enough, or even too much. So let's see. Show me. And okay, it says that keyframe value for property transform is invalid. And that's clearly true because there is a minus that I forgot to remove. It's gonna be added by itself if it's negative anyway. So yeah, I forgot about it. Let's see the result right now, show me. And as you can see, it moves from that spot, but the issue is that it's still too big as it appears, so it doesn't look natural at all, as smooth as I showed you. So what we're gonna do is we'll simply set a scale right there, scale of, let's make it 0.5, really, it's gonna work, and scale, oh, I'm real dumb, because there is no such property in CSS as scale. There is such a thing as zoom that we're not gonna talk about. I'm not even sure if it's deprecated or not. But instead, we'll do a scale of 0.5 after a space. I hope I'm not wrong. And here we'll have a scale of 1, obviously. So let's see the result, and it actually matters what goes first. It might be a scale, it might be a transform, but I think I did it right. So let's see, show me. And wait, can we see the results? I think it's very subtle. What I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna multiply it by some factor. And the reason for that is because I don't want it to go all the way to that initial point. Movement rates. Yeah, so yeah, feel free to come up with different naming for these variables. I'll make it 0.6. And now I'm gonna multiply it. And let's see how it changed. Show me. Oh, and it looks smooth right now. I'm happy with the result. Sure, there is some room for improvement, but I think you probably like it as well. So that's it, and I probably should show you a few more examples because yeah, it's just in a single position, and yeah, you should always do some testing when there is some math involved, and even if there isn't, obviously. Okay, so let's do it that way. I need to reference this button, open model button in CSS. So let's do it. Let's give it some, well, pretty much position absolute right of 50 pixels and bottom of 100 pixels. And now if I refresh the page, you can see it right there, and I click it and it still works just fine. It pops from that location. So I think we're done for today. I mean, you can clearly see there's a lot of work to be done. So yeah, tell me in the comments what you would want to see in the next video. And thank you for watching.